now be recorded.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you very much. Let the record show that we do have a quorum with all members present. The first item is to adopt an agenda, and I understand we have some amendments. Mr. Weekly, if you would go through those amendments, and then we can choose to adopt as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I always like to give you updates if anything's changed from the posting of the Friday packet, because we post the Friday before your meeting. So number 9 and number 10, you have it listed, but it's really not there unless you decide to amend, right? Based on the local emergency we just had, which I can report it's over with, and you're going to deal with those in order. Number 9, the ratification of the declaration of local emergency. So when the chairman and myself, or Brian, if I'm not available from the emergency management standpoint, when it's declared, we're still required to, or I'm required to bring it back to the full board for ratification. And then, Mr. Chairman, item number 10, I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but the event has ended, and we are asking for you to rescind the declaration, which would also include, we added the countywide burn ban because all of our resources were there. And as far as items that were added to, or information that was added to the packet of items already on the agenda, item 6, your secondary 6-year plan discussion you're going to have today. We did receive an email around noon today from PEC. They had some thoughts they wish to share on unpaved roads. So even though it was late, we decided to put it in. We feel like, they wanted part of the record. You should take it under consideration. And then in the CPACE ordinance, don't want to confuse too much, but there was conversation with CPACE folks that they thought the locality agreement and the program agreement needed to be included. So we have put that in there, but your main focus point is still your ordinance, which is what your public hearing's based on. Hannah's done a great job of drafting that ordinance that speaks to all those things. And we'll get into that further, sir, when you get to that item. But those were the amendments that were made since the publishing on Friday.
Okay, very well, thank you, Mr. Weekly. So then what's the board's pleasure to adopt the amended agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Very well, we have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as amended. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. Opposed, nay. All right, motion carries. All right, next item is public comment. You have any public comment? We have one guest tonight, at least. You have? Oh, sure, at the end of the, sure. Yeah, we will do this again. Anybody online that? Okay, very well. Yeah. Very well. Then hearing no public comment, we'll close public comment and do it again at the end of the meeting. So next item is the consent agenda. We have minutes from the 24th and the 26th of February, and we have minutes from the 4th and the 5th of March, and we have 2 supplementals. The one from the school board for $50,000, and the other one, let's see, for a total.
So donations that
Yeah,
come in
donations.
variety that need to be supplemented back.
Yeah, the $50,000, I think, Nancy, you and Jim probably heard that at the school board meeting. That was the money that University of Richmond gave the schools for that, I don't know, sort of like an intern program, I guess is the easiest way to. So the money came in, so this is moving it back over to them. So if there are, what's the board's pleasure on consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Very well. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Chair votes aye, opposed nay. All right. All right, we have no special appearances. We have a public hearing on the CPACE proposed ordinance 26-4. Mr. Weekly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. CPACE is an organization that deals with what I call stopgap, or they call as well stopgap funding. It seems like they have a relationship with Virginia Energy. Sometimes these economic development tools, if you will, come through DHCD. This is through CPACE. CPACE was available. They came in October, and they came recently this year. So both the past board and the current board to hear about this program. This program does provide, as I said, stopgap funding. So think about this: if you're a developer, your project costs $5 million. They want you to, either have your personal finance, investors, and they come in kind of for that last bit of stopgap funding. During that discussion, the board had asked, is there any liability for the county? There is none. Actually, Hannah did a good job when he drafted that ordinance. There's a section in there specifically for that. So it's not assumed it's known because it's in the ordinance language. The county's relationship really, and again, this is giving the county a tool in the toolbox for economic development. You've approved several projects in the past, and I can think of 3 right now. I'll name them to go on the record who are looking at this. They may even be watching online tonight. Mr. Shapiro with the Cricketsville School Project, Mr. Helmy with the glamping out near Prince Michelle, and Mr. Seek with Meander Inn. The board is always, you've weighed out these either SUPs or business ventures or rezoning. You've made decisions. They've gotten approved. Now it's like, how do you get it going? It's about helping developers, but also expanding your tax base. So this really is a way for funding to be provided for developers to do those things in the county. But it's only allowed via ordinance. So if the county is going to participate, an ordinance is required to do so. And again, Hannon has drafted this ordinance. It does include the locality, reference to the locality agreement and the program agreement. Essentially, one recognizes, and Kim can bring those up on the screen, one is Appendix A, one is Appendix B, and it's in that long program guidance document too, if you want to look at that. But essentially, one, if you were to adopt the ordinance here tonight after your public hearing, then you could, then that would authorize me to enter into an agreement. So that recognized the ordinance was adopted, codified, and Madison County would be a participant by signing that agreement. The other agreement, and I've talked with Ms. Murray, our treasurer, is we would enter into the agreement. Our relationship is recognized and the agreement is there because it would become a special assessed property at that time. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean it changes hands or there's more revenue or something coming into the commissioner's side of the house. But that just means that, there is a program that's funding this, and should it default, then there's lien language in there. That program agreement, it gives the option, if you go further down in there and read under liens, it gives the option for the county to participate and help the capital provider to deal with that lien, or we can opt out. I agree with Ms. Murray, our treasurer. We just want this turnkey. The treasurer has her mechanisms to collect taxes or payment plans, or if someone's delinquent, or ultimately there's an avenue. She works with our attorney. So we do not believe we should be participating in a lien program for the benefit of the capital provider. That's the one providing the money or their arrangement with CPACE. So I feel like we're protected. Yes, Stephanie would receive those, that agreement if they ever reach an agreement, the provider, CPACE, and whoever, I'm going to call them Company A, may be. That's to make us aware of an agreement that is there and the special assessment, and that's only the reason why we get that document. So that is really all the information I have. Again, think about it as an economic development tool. I think when they were here the last time, it was over 20-some counties or localities that are participating. So I really think that, as we struggle with ways to be creative, it is staff's opinion or my opinion that at no cost to the county, this would allow those who want to develop in your county, business owners, to have this program available to help them get their project off the ground. So I'm happy to take any questions from the board. Again, this is your public hearing that's required for any ordinance review and/or adoption.
Okay, questions for Mr. Weekly from the board?
Just one simple one, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Weekly, please refresh my memory. I know that our administrative commitments to this are minimal, but specifically, could you kind of recap how that would work if someone comes in and wants to apply for this?
Thank you. So one, the application, I will check with Ms. Gardner to see, I think it would be smart, we would have a link on our website, and even tourism's website, to get to this agency and their application. But the developer would not make application with the county. So if they're interested in this, now they certainly may call and say, hey, tell me about this program, and we would direct them to it. We would probably want to put a media blast out. I just came off the top of my head with this, letting folks know about this if this is suggesting if you pass this ordinance. But that application will be made through CPACE. CPACE will screen it to see if it meets whatever their criteria is. There's a lot of it in there, financials and a lot of things. If it meets their criteria and they are willing to have a capital provider to provide that stopgap funding, then we would get that one agreement, I think it's the program agreement, back notifying us. And they'll have it all fit out. It'll say whatever the company, it'll have the interest rates and things in there. My initial question for them was, why do we need to approve the form? We don't even know who company A is yet. They want kind of a standard form, if you will, and then they fill in the blanks, but it's hard to get someone to the table if the language could change. But they would make that application directly through CPACE, and CPACE would be the ones to determine. We can look at it too. We're just basically acknowledging that, okay, you've got an agreement here, special assess, but the actual funding and the determination of that would be through CPACE.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
But on that,
Go ahead. Just to follow up on that, so in here, they state there could be locality fees, although not typical, so we're not gonna charge anything for this.
We are not charging, because one, it's minimum staff time, so when Stephanie gets it and reviews it, and I'm gonna be aware of it too, I don't think it's it's fair for us to charge a fee for a review, because we want economic development, but other than that, we're not processing the application, so there's really nothing there for us to charge for.
Right, I mean, just in their paperwork, it says locality
Yeah.
fees.
Correct. And if you had that, quite frankly, we would probably need to put that in administrative fees schedule that you are talking about with the budget, but staff does not recommend, good question, staff does not recommend charging a county fee.
okay, anything further on this from the board? Questions?
And then procedurally, what I'd recommend, and there, actually, Mr. Snyder pointed out something to me in reviewing it, which is, as far as the location of this, my idea was to put it in chapter 24, article 13. And then as you start going down, if you don't mind, this is a vestige of their model ordinance where it says article 1 in general. I think it makes sense to leave the in general, but to strike through the article 1s, article 2s, all that, just because it confuses with the fact that it's in article 13. So keep the headers, but remove the article 1s. That's a total just housekeeping issue that I would suggest you all. The second thing is we've got this ordinance. You all have been able to see the other, I'll call them allied papers, the associated agreements that they have. I think we should do a separate resolution to enter into the actual locality program agreement. And then if that's the direction the board wants to go.
But that would have to be done at a later date when a
No,
resolution.
We could do that, assuming the ordinance passed, then that would be, I would say the next thing is a resolution to enter into the locality program agreement with CPACE. And that's the one that's in the packet.
Yeah, because we have a locality agreement in there, and we also have a program agreement, I guess you call it. So, program agreement, that's for somebody that wants to apply.
Correct, and then they've got their guidelines also that they've provided that are in the packet, and so
Okay.
we reference these things in the ordinance. We don't list them out as part of the ordinance, but they are all, I'll say, incorporated into this model ordinance.
Okay. All right. So any further questions from the board before we go to the public?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. So public to the public, public comment.
Instead of a resolution, it could just be a motion to enter into that. I said resolution. It could be a motion to enter into that locality agreement. I apologize for interrupting.
Okay. All right. So hearing none on the public hearing, we will close the public hearing. Back to the board for further discussion or motion.
I can make a motion if someone else wants to.
No, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve ordinance 2026-4 with the textual amendments recommended by Mr. Wright.
Second.
Very well, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance 2026-4 with the textual amendments. Any further discussion? Very well, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, opposed nay. All right, motion carries. So now I would entertain a motion that the county enter into the locality agreement. Is that?
So moved.
Very good. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Here. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Opposed, nay. All right, motion carries. Very good. All right, so now the next item on the agenda is a jail fee proposed resolution. That is Mr. Weekly.
So, and I'm gonna give credit to Hannon on this, and as well as, I think Ms. Curtin, she's definitely hit the ground running and made us aware of some things, so.
And
there-
Ms. Lauk.
And Ms. Lauk, thank you. There was a, I guess I would say an ordinance, or maybe this was a resolution, forgive me. There was an ordinance that was done back in, June 18th, 2002. That, basically said, all right, we want to assess this $25 fee, jail fee for, once you have a conviction in the court. It never got codified. So what Hannon has done to solve that is put forth a resolution that essentially would allow us to codify that and be able to, because anytime you're assessing a fee, it should point to your code, and it's not there. So this resolution is the avenue or the way to do that.
So you wouldn't find this in Muni Code right now if we look.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Questions from the board for Mr. Weekly or Mr. Wright? I think it's pretty straightforward also. All right. Hearing none, then what's the board's pleasure on the resolution 2026-4?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2026-4.
Okay. There we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2026-4. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Chair votes aye.
It's
Opposed, nay.
146.
Motion carries. All right. Next on the agenda, you got the secondary six-year plan.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you may recall, Ms. Shepherd from VDOT was here during a quarterly report, and right after that, she went into your secondary six-year plan, and we talked about kind of how this is suggested and recommended. So one, you have roads that you have already approved to be part of that plan as of last year or maybe years prior. Again, your telefee funds, which come from the state, you don't get a lot, and you put a little bit of in the bucket of money, or in this case, in the bucket of the road project. There were discussions, so going back to how do you get this list? VDOT headquarters or the local headquarters here. Mr. Gar, who runs the shop here, he would make suggestions based on his staff on things they're seeing. You know, we would reach out to the bus shop because they travel these roads every day. And we would also communicate with law enforcement or any roads. So, and lastly, and importantly, any roads that the citizens may request. So it's that combination how we get the recommendations. And then VDOT looks at those and sees if they qualify. Does it have more than 50 vehicle trips per day? What's the lane width? I don't know if it's 14 feet or something like that if they want. So they looked at all these factors before they make suggestions or recommendations to you all. So where we left it last time, this was a list that she presented. There was 2 discussion items, and we were gonna bring them back. One of them I'm tracking was Chairman Yao, the other one was me, and those topics were, should Emmett Road stay on the road or not? And my homework assignment was to talk about the budget schedule. So I have a recommendation on a public hearing when we get to that part. So really, if you like what you see, or if you wanna take a road off, or suggest adding one, I will say if you look to add a road, you know, I'll have to have a conversation with them. There still would be time, because you have to set your public hearing, but VDOT could come back and say, oh yeah, that road qualifies, or that road doesn't qualify for this reason or reasons. So I guess Chairman Yao would start with you on any feedback you have on Emmett Road.
Yeah.
And then lastly, before Chairman Yao starts, I think the conversation was, if those funds become available, if you choose not to move forward, could they do other things, such as Mr. Jewett brought up? How do we handle the second part of Turner Drive, which is not on this plan, only the first half is? So, Mr. Chairman, I defer to you, sir.
Yeah, after speaking with a number of the residents on Emmett Road, I want to remove the rest of Emmett Road from this. And we can use those funds for something else. That doesn't, yeah, the first part of Emmett Road, when I put it on the agenda and it got done, that's because it was very steep and it washed out all the time. The rest of Emmett Road is flat, plenty wide, there's really no problems. You've been down to Judd? Yeah,
You're talking about the end down at Champlain?
yeah, from Champlain back to Lacey,
curve.
Ayler's house. I think Lacey would like to have this little corner paved, but, you know, we're not gonna do that.
Those funds, it's up to you, because I'm hearing, you all want to take that off. So those funds, you could direct VDOT, you know, put them into your program. It could speed up a project that's currently on the list, you know, that may had another year of funding. It could fund that road and get done sooner. Again, you can direct, there is statute that was passed about a year or so ago. Initially, all telefees and all that can only be used for this. Now, those funds that are provided to the county could be looked to do other things, as I stated earlier on, as Mr. Jewett brought up Turner Drive. So really, you can direct me to have whatever conversation you want me to have with VDOT about what would you like to do with that money. We'll do that. I do want to point out, I think I said this before the meeting started, we included Don McCown from PEC had comments. I'll just summarize it. And the second thing he sent later, I don't know if we got that in the packet or not. I think it had to do with program guidelines or something on roads. But basically, what I got from it is he is encouraging you to really think about the historic and characteristics and all that of the roads, that you start paving a lot of these gravel roads, it could change the character or maybe affect people's other use of the road, you know, pedestrians or people horseback ride or whatever. So we did think it would be responsible of us to let you know PEC's thoughts. That's up to you to decide if that factors in. I will say that not all unpaved roads is gonna make your list of 6-year plan. As I stated, you gotta have that 50 above vehicle trips per day. It's gotta have width. Think about Clore Road, think about Parish Road. I'm sorry, Ms. Sharman. Those are 2 roads we looked at recently, or had VDOT look at recently, that for whatever reasons they cited, would not. So it would just stay as an unpaved road unless the county ever, you know, if there's a revenue share type of program the county wants to enter into, which involves land easements and widening and all that. So, but I did want to be respectful of PEC's comments.
But this new approach by VDOT does allow a road like Parish Road to be improved say, you know, as an example, because I remember this gentleman, you all came in front of the board about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, asking, or saying that there were some improvements that need to be done with Parish Road, but it didn't meet rural rustic at the time because it couldn't be paved. But now, the money, as I understand it, could be used to get rid of washboard type stuff and potholes and all that stuff, ditch cleaning and all that stuff. So
I do think, like, specific for that road, and I can't remember all that road because I don't travel every day, you do, but I do know where it starts, and I think there's a cemetery or somewhere over up there. Even if it was wide enough at that section, maybe you want to do a section road that cuts down on the dust, or I don't know if people skid through that intersection or whatever, but there may be portions of a road, if not all the road, but certainly you have the right to request those funds to be directed, whether it's improvement of an existing road or put towards your plan that would expedite some of those projects to be paved sooner. If you want to assume ownership,
I just think that there's no way they can make it wide enough without taking out so many trees, et cetera, but it, you know, and I just don't know how this is. I've been on that dirt road for decades, but it just seems like it keeps getting narrower. And I'm not sure it does, but it sure seems like it's hemming in more and more, but
car getting wider.
there's a lot of areas where you can't have 2 cars pass.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah,
just,
we're
you
used to
just
that.
can't, and, I kinda gave up hope on it, so I was kinda looking at that paving situation we have over there on Tolles Road right now, and I know they came over and they patched it, but that road's just tore up.
they need to do something at that
It's
intersection there.
so bad right there, because the whole road, and I don't know if it was from our glacier storm that we had, what happened, but it's
So-
full of potholes.
So I think you have some time, so whatever is communicated here tonight, or if you want time to think about tonight and come back in April, whatever you want to communicate, hey, one, we want to pull Emmett Road out, I heard that loud and clear.
Yeah.
How would you like those funds? You want to divvy it up into your plan? You want them to make some suggestions, or if you have suggestions on a certain road you want to look at? We still haven't gotten the parameters for, I know they said they can maybe do some local maintenance type of work. They didn't describe what that was for the second half of Turner, so we're still waiting on that. But whatever you would like to do with that, essentially, was it 300?
I'm gonna be dead before they get.
Well, basically, so what that is, you haven't,
Parish.
yeah, you haven't received that, so they haven't even started putting money in that bucket yet. So what they would do is reassign or reallocate that funding to another project. You can see what previous funding you got, which is only 2 roads, and then the other years, you're kind of waiting. You've agreed to those being on your plan, but when those years come is when that money will go into that project, so.
As long as that money doesn't go away.
Correct. It would not go away, but I do think it's good for you to designate where you would like it to go. Or if you want to say, VDOT, bring me back suggestions. I think either is fair, but definitely get a determinant on how you want those funds used.
I just don't know where you'd start and stop on Parish Road, because it just goes on for miles, and
Right.
miles.
And again, you can see, now, she did talk about, I think, the 2 roads that are in red font there, the 2, what is that? Is that Tusing Lane and Great Oaks? I mean, I think we do have to bring this back every year. I know the comment was made, you may not have to or whatever. I think you need to do it every year, adopt your plan, have your public hearing, let people speak to it. But that money could fall into one of those and maybe start that sooner. But again, it's your purview. You just need to provide the direction, and we can, give that over to VDOT. Or if you want their recommendations, we can tell them, bring it back, so we have that for next meeting.
Mr. Weekly, I just wanted to follow up on a recent issue, but there's that one section of Novum Church Road right after the church that goes a steep, sharp, steep curve going down that washes out all the time. I don't know whether there's something they could do to remedy that, including maybe just paving. It wouldn't be what?
Few hundred yards or something.
Yeah, at the most. That's a suggestion.
Towards Hoover.
Is this coming back towards
From
the
you leave the church and
center,
come
or
back towards Hoover.
going back
Right.
towards Hoover? And
You
there's
gotta
a
go down that.
down and a
steep
curve.
hill.
Okay,
Because I know some of the residents were complaining about that when we were doing the other thing.
okay. I will ask, I do know they're also supposed to come back and look at several intersections, they're kind of back to back. The Ridgeview Road, Hoover Road intersection, the Arrington Mountain, Hoover Road intersection, the Novum Church Hoover Road intersection. All those are dangerous, either from either sight distance from both direction or one or the other. But I will ask about that, Mr. Jewett. I don't know, that may be just the normal maintenance funds that they have, they can address that, but we'll bring that up and see what source of funding.
And also, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So we
I'm
were
gonna complain
talking
about
about,
something else.
I've lost the bubble on what
Turner Drive.
Turner Drive, going further on Turner Drive. What would that entail?
What
can
she
we do
stated,
with
and
this money towards Turner Drive?
bring up the, would that have been in the recent minutes from the last meeting?
Wasn't she talking about the
All right,
right
I'm gonna go off
issues
memory then. I
again?
wasn't sure if they were
Hadn't
meant
really rectified.
Yeah,
or-
they were gonna look to
Right.
see what they could do at the local effort for
Okay.
local maintenance, but they did not provide a scope of work yet of
Yeah.
what that local maintenance would be. They did spend a light amount of money on surveying, but to me, that's not your full survey, because for those who've been on site out there, you've gotta look at, all right, what land acquisition do you need? You're not only widening the road, but you're gonna channel that water somewhere.
Right.
So there's a lot more than what was already spent to determine that if you're
Yeah.
gonna go full-blown widen and pave. And I think what this board says, well, if you can't widen and pave, what are some things you can do to improve it?
That's right.
And that's where she committed, well, we can look and see what local options would be, but they have not provided a scope of work of that yet.
All right, so for now, let's see, see if this summary agrees. So, are we gonna take Emmett Road out, get some further information on Turner, get some information on, Novum Church Road, that part of it, and then otherwise, just move these things, like move Tusing and Willits Ford Road and Rochelle School Lane, move them up.
But you like those, the other thing I need to clarify, you like those two roads being part of your plan?
Well, yeah,
The
Tusing
Russ
and
Jones
Willits Ford.
and, well, I guess they have Great Oaks Road on there too, so I would say the roads listed on the priorities
they're
of
fine.
before you.
Have all these roads met the criteria as they?
Yes.
And that's why they're on here?
Right.
So
Yes, sir.
if we're waiting all the way to like fiscal year 29, do they have to go back through that count again, through that car count? And just
They may
or
not
They
redo it.
do it now, and that's good for,
Yeah, they may not, they generally wouldn't go back and redo a count if it qualified. What may occur, like we've asked them to look at Clore Road, there's a section on Clore Road that's unpaved as it goes down towards River Road. We've asked them to look at that a couple times, so they may go out and do it if we think, say there's 4 or 5 houses that has now been constructed on a gravel road. Maybe that would improve trips per day, then we would request for them to look at it if the board wanted them to look at that road. But they generally wouldn't go out and recount it if it's met criteria, but yes, sir, all these roads, they have reviewed to meet criteria. And if there
I
was
just
any
figured they-
new road that you suggested,
Yeah.
we would have to give it to them so they can review it as well for criteria.
they did these counts probably back in 25, right? would
They
assume.
do counts at various times, so I don't know if all of them were done at 2025. I know, for example, when you look at the first two that already have previous funding, Walker's Mill and Turner Drive, that definitely would have predate 2025. I don't know when traffic counts were done on the remaining roads, but I do know they have looked at that data, so whatever year that was reported, it qualified. So if anything, I don't think traffic would have decreased on any of those roads. If anything, I know on Tusing, I think they've built, 3 or 4 houses recently, so, it's added traffic.
All right, so the other issue we wanted to nail down was when we would like to have
Yeah,
the
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
public, hearing on it.
Forgive me for not having my calendar moved up. If memory serves me correct, we were gonna recommend May, because you still got, so May 12th would be your first meeting, business meeting in May. And the reason staff would recommend that is you're still doing budget things in April to include your public hearing in April, late April, potential adoption. You've got a lot of things to do. You have to advertise administrative fees, you have to advertise whatever you decide, if it's even equal rate or whatever you're gonna do on taxes. So I would not recommend doing your 6-year plan public hearing the same night. I would advise you do it in May. It still gives you plenty of time to listen, approve, adopt, so they're ready by July 1. The statute requires to have it done before July 1.
All right, May 12th, good enough?
That's a
All right,
4
let's-
PM meeting, so usually we just
Yeah.
advertise it as 4 or as the agenda allows is the language.
Okay. All right, let's shoot for May 12th.
Okay.
Anything further from the board on this? All right. Then we'll move on to new business, Madison County Fair Fee Waiver Request. This is an annual thing.
Yes, sir. We just, I think Ms. Weaver dropped this off this week. It is a pretty standard request. I know I've been here a little over 4 years, and we've received it every one of those years. They're requesting a waiver of fees. As you can imagine, a lot of trash is generated there. The board in past has waived the fee. The county administrator does not have the right to waive fees without your approval, so that's why it's coming to you for your consideration.
I thought it was somewhat singular, put in to waive zoning fees.
I was wondering about that. I couldn't figure out why that
I
was.
think she just,
What, zoning fees?
Yeah.
Zoning, or, I'm not sure about zoning. I know
Not that
building
we wouldn't do
inspection.
it.
I mean, they have to go out there and look at
Right.
tents and things that go up. Zoning, I'm not sure
She
what
just
we
wrote it
would
all
do
down,
on
that's all.
that. So, but definitely building related and, landfill disposal fees is what they're looking for.
all right. What's the board's pleasure on waiving the tipping fees and building inspection fees?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve waiving the fees for the fair fee waiver request.
All right,
Second?
very well. We have a motion and a second to approve the fee waivers for the Madison County Fair. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. The next up is Board of Zoning Appeals. What do we got, Ms. Turner?
Throw me under the bus. Alrighty, so we have 2 terms on the Board of Zoning Appeals that will expire in April 17th. That's Suzanne Long and Roger Clatterbuck. Ms. Long has indicated her interest in serving another term. And the BZA has reviewed this and they recommend her for reappointment. Mr. Clatterbuck has indicated he would not seek reappointment. BZA recommends that the current alternate, Jessica Davis, fill this upcoming vacancy as a regular member, and Ms. Davis is willing to do that. What happens with appointments for BZA is the BZA will first consider it, make a recommendation to you, the board. The board will consider their recommendation and then make a recommendation to the circuit court, who then would appoint the membership. So you all, this is here for you to consider and then make a recommendation to the circuit court. Staff is recommending to appoint Suzanne Long to the Board of Zoning Appeals and to appoint Jessica Davis as a regular member to fill the upcoming vacancies and to authorize staff to advertise for which would be a vacant alternate position. And that's all I have unless you have questions.
How long does an alternate serve?
It's the same years
As the
as a member, and I can
appointees,
pull it up on the website if you're interested in
No,
that.
that's just, all right. Anything, questions for Ms. Turner from the board? We have a recommended action down there, so what's the board's pleasure?
Now, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend to the circuit court the reappointment of Suzanne Long to the BZA and appoint Jessica Davis as a regular member.
And you want to authorize the staff to advertise?
Yeah, and authorize staff to advertise for a new alternate.
All right,
I'll second.
very well, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure it's understood, but we'll wait till we hear from the court, that the court appoints as you've recommended, then we'll do the advertisement. But we will wait until we hear back.
Okay. Very well. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Chair votes aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, so we're down to ratification and rescinding, back to back here. So Sunday, we had to do a declaration of local emergency. So Mr. Weekly, you want to take it from here?
Yes, sir, and I'm gonna rope you in on this in a minute, because I appreciate the cooperation here. So unfortunately, we had a wildfire occur up near Camp Rapidan. There was a cause by a power line and a tree. It was at the base of the camp, but to the right, because the camp's on the left side of the road. The fire was on the right-hand side of the road where the electric lines run through and then headed up the mountain, the ridge. So we're thinking anywhere between 15 to 20 acres. We had a lot of folks up there, including DOF and the park, to respond. That operation kind of changed hands as the night went on that night and then into the morning of Monday. So thankfully, we had some rain up there, about a quarter of an inch. Thank the Lord for that. And they were able to get a line around it and fully contain it. So we kept you all notified. Declaration, though, is required anytime for those emergencies. And that just, one, it makes you all aware, the public aware, and it also opens up funds. Now, we just don't go willy-nilly crazy with buying things. But I do like to thank the chairman. I got Doug Jones on the phone, and chairman ran over to get mixed gas while I could type up the declaration. So it's an all hands on deck. Really grateful for the people that we have that just jumped right on this and ensured that we don't lose any of our historic part. I mean, I realize that may not be our property, but it's part of our history when it comes to Camp Rapidan and that junction with Hoover's Camp. So that we also took the opportunity to institute. You may recall, after the last wildfire in 2023, we had this emergency burn ordinance, but we really had to write it on legal here to put that in there. So we wanted to codify that so we can kind of turn that on as a light switch, if you will, if conditions exist for that. We thought it was smart. Yeah, it was high winds and dry conditions, but if all of our resources are there, it would encourage the general public to refrain so we don't have other emergencies, hopefully not to respond to. So it is required, even though it's already been declared, for you all to ratify via resolution the declaration, and then we'll get to the rescission part. Since the emergency is over, that's the part of the rescinding. So you're rescinding, which we'll give all this to the press, as well as lifting the burn ban so folks can go back to normal activity. I do not want to confuse people. The state has a burn law. You do not burn until after 4 p.m. That's different than what the county's saying. The county initially had a burn ban, means prohibit all open-air burning until it's lifted. So we're lifting, but that still means you need to follow state law. So I just want to clarify that. So before you is the ratification, Mr. Chairman, of Declaration of Local Emergency of March 22nd, 2026.
So any further questions from the board for Mr. Weekly? Okay, hearing none. What's your pleasure?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt Resolution 2026-5.
Very well, we have a motion. Second.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2026-5. Any further discussion?
If I may, forgive me, I should have mentioned this in my report. I do want to, I should have wrote the Alliance name down so they can get proper credit, but Starlink worked very good on our command post, and you may recall Samantha Gary, the organization she's involved with, I don't know if it's Robinson Rose River Alliance, maybe is the name of it. That allowed us to have transmission during that time. So that was something that they funded initially, the Starlink, and it was a benefit. So
good.
we do want to recognize that. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Yeah. All right, any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm the liaison to the volunteer fire department here, and I was there last night, and those guys really, I asked them how their legs felt, because they're climbing up and down that mountain. They said it was a rough one, but they did a great job, so I want to put that out there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Such a good job.
All right. Any further discussion? Very well, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Now, on to rescinding same. Mr. Weekly?
Yes. Ash, I'm gonna give Brian credit for that font, because ooh, my eyes. But But it's basically summarizing the event. So really, Mr. Chairman, under recommended action, that's what we're looking for, requesting you all take action on. Again, and I should have said this at the last resolution you just had. Also want to recognize the other agencies, because while Brian was up at the command center, all the volunteers, I was checking with Gavin, are we properly staffed? And they brought on extra people to be able to deal with the fire folks need, because somebody did have something with their eye. I don't think it was anybody local, but still, it's someone's eye. And then, spoke to Ms. Richards. We were properly, I think we had 3 dispatchers when the minimum was at least 2. So I was listening to traffic. They were able to handle law enforcement. There was other EMS things going on. So I do want to recognize their efforts as well. Has nothing to do with your rescinding declaration, but it's an all-team effort, and we were properly staffed, and they all worked brilliantly. So
Yeah, and this was a Sunday afternoon, about 3 o'clock when all this, well, it got started a little bit before that, but by the time I heard about it.
VDOT, I mean, they brought
About
up,
3,
put
so
blockades
it was
up on the road.
Sundays, and everybody dropped everything, so. All right, very well, then we need, we have a recommended action down there. We need to rescind the declaration and the burn ban. Can I get a motion to that effect?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I so move the rescinding of the declaration and the burn ban of the local emergency.
Very well, we have a motion, need a second.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to rescind the declaration and the burn ban. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mr. Weekly.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Weekly, is it advisable to rescind our current burn ban while this wind's blowing and it's drier and dry? I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. Brian was asked that question, I think by media when he was asked. You may recall, and I'm trying to give a long answer, but when we were reviewing and discussing the burn ban ordinance, through legal staff and you all, how do you determine that? What's the factors? And one of the tools that Brian, love him deaf, I'm glad we have him here, but he must have been a weatherman in his previous life. So he watches something called KDBI. It's a determinant factor of flammable and conditional type of activities. So based on that, he would not recommend that you would keep going. And the question even came up, we knew it was going to be contained last night. Did we, try to lift it then? The thought was, I was sitting in the office here yesterday evening and the wind was heavy. It's like, let's just wait till the board has their meeting tomorrow night. But staff does believe, based on one of those determinants that we use, KDBI, that we are okay. That doesn't mean folks should still not pay attention. Normally if you're burning brush, I think it's so many feet, it may be 150 feet from the wood lines you're supposed to be. Not burning that until after 4 per state law. So while I say yes, I think it's okay to lift it, I still think folks should just use common sense, when you're thinking about burning. If it's a windy day, I would probably not recommend it. If you don't have a hose nearby or water supply, don't burn. But staff does think we're okay with that. Should those conditions change, and again, that's one of the triggering facts, we would bring that back to you.
And Mr. Jewett, if I can, just, when we first passed this, one of the concerns was it having some objective criteria as opposed to just how somebody felt about whether or not there should be a burn ban. And so I think we've gotten back into not the red zone of this. And so, because we've gone back under that criteria, then that's why.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, appreciate it.
Nancy, do you have something?
Well,
Further discussion.
yeah, I know, I just have a comment. I just think that Madison County is their very best on FEMA. It's always amazing how everybody shows up and takes care of everything, and you just all do a great job.
Thank you.
Very good. So we have a motion and a second on the table. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, opposed nay. All right, motion carries. All right, so. Huh? Okay, so we have no discussion, information, and correspondence. Oh, by the way, I've been meaning to say this, but under information and correspondence, if any of you all, we all go to so many meetings. If you have something that you would like to impart to the rest of the board at some point, we would do that under information and correspondence. So. All right, public comment. Back to public comment. Let's just come to the podium and tell us your name and what area of the county you live in. And
All right. My name's Mitch Dickey, and I'm from Brightwood.
Mitch, okay?
And I just want to apologize to a previous professor of mine in public speaking in college because I'm going to read straight from my notes just because it's important to me and I just want to make sure I get it said. I need to set the record straight concerning the school board budget information that was presented at last week's Board of Supervisors meeting. The 8 proposed positions were not new. The positions are new to the budget this year, but they are backfilling lost positions from years past. Inadequate funding in previous budgets led the school board to refrain from replacing lost positions, relying on attrition to meet budget constraints. You referenced that the Board of Supervisors will let that happen as long as the money is not used for our salaries. Why are you so anti-staffing? I've spoken with several employees at all levels of the school system, and they expressed their concern about the need for additional staff. And that was in reference to the Strategic Initiatives Fund. Just want to thank you for allowing us to use money we originally budgeted for and additional aid, thereby lowering our Strategic Initiative Fund by $35,000. It was then referenced that, and I quote, "I know you guys need some help with insurance, so you guys keep $75,000 of it." You then continued with, "So when we get the school board budget, we'll cut their amount by $75,000, and they will put the other $75,000 in the Strategic Initiatives Fund." So we went from a level budget from the superintendent, which included 8 positions that were filling in lost positions from years past, to 4 positions, which you guys graciously allowed us an additional 1 back, making it a total of 5. Then taking $75,000 away from us to cover your own insurance increase, leaving us with $75,000. You then doubled down on the fact the remaining $75,000 cannot be used for salaries. Excuse me. It is very clear you do not have an adequate understanding of what goes on inside of our classrooms. Ask anyone who is a teacher, and they will let you know the needs of the classrooms. The information referencing the 2 school board members wanting something in writing that would allow us to keep leftover money at the end of the year was misstated. I'm not sure if that was a simple oversight while you were listening to the meeting, or if it was because of the lack of attention that was being done by the Board of Supervisor representatives when they were in the meeting with us while we were discussing that. The 2 school board members had concerns about the money originally proposed for adequate staffing being used for a fund with no specific line items assigned to it. The members' concerns were that the money we had budgeted for staff and was now being proposed to be used for a Strategic Initiatives Fund that had no guarantee from the Board of Supervisors that we would be able to use this money for the new fund. No one disputes that you all allow us to keep leftover monies for CIP. Nobody disputes that, and we appreciate that. We do always have CIP needs, but we have a glaring need for staffing. But again, no one will know that unless you actually come into one of our classrooms. I've lost my spot. The superintendent makes the need for additional staff very clear, but no one seems to listen. Until this community, and a lot of my wish were in the audience with me, and I'm hoping that's changing going forward. But until the community understands what it is like in the actual Madison County school classroom, changes won't happen. Since we are aggressively speaking of looking school board members in the eye and letting us know about things, and also encouraging school board members to look you in the eye, I will look all of you, every one of you in the eye and tell you the superintendent puts together a needs-based budget and we nickel and dime it every single year. I have heard through the grapevine that the Board of Supervisors thinks the schools hide away money. Prove it. We would be more than happy to compare books. I'll stand corrected and apologize if you guys find our hidden pot of money. We did set a precedent to take care of our staff and cover the insurance increase because we are trying to fix a teacher retention problem, among other things. Instead of blaming us for forcing you to also cover 100% of your health insurance, why don't you make some tough decisions and find money elsewhere like we have to, rather than taking it back from the schools? I agree that the county employees and the school employees should be equal in that regard, so I do support that. I just wish it would be handled a little bit differently. I'm not saying you guys don't make hard decisions, because I know you do, but I'll go on. It was said, this is the first time since I've been on this board that we have had a school board member that is willing to take the bull by the horns over there and make some changes. This was said as if we, as a school division, are a rudderless ship without this one school board member and you all, as the Board of Supervisors. Give me a break. I heard a lot of campaign jargon from some of you on how you were going to figure out ways to help the schools, especially by raising revenue with economic development. Where are we with that? I know I've heard a little bit about it, and maybe I need to pay a little bit more attention to it. But are we really going to do that? Are we really going to stick to it this time? Because it's really easy to run on the backs of the school saying we're going to make them better, and then just have it piddle out just like it does every single year. I'm going to hold you all accountable to that, just as I hope you hold me accountable to the decisions I make too. Make me trust you. Instead of looking the school board in the eye and demanding that we look you in the eye, why don't you look at the Madison County taxpayers in the eye and let them know that education is not your priority? I would hate to think that's actually what it is, but I don't think they don't know that. You do understand that Madison County teachers and students are also your constituents. The very people that we neglect to give the resources they need every day are voting members of this community. When was the last time you asked them how it was going in their classroom? I hope you guys talk to teachers. There's a lot of teachers in this county. It's one of the biggest employers we got, if not the biggest. But their voice matters, and it's not being heard. And some of it might be just because they don't feel confident enough to get up here and do it. I'll do it for them. I know they fear retribution. I want to fix that. They should be able to voice their opinions. I had lots of support from people when I didn't agree to the budget. And I asked them to speak out. But some of them said they were afraid, and I respect that. It shouldn't be that way. They need to speak out to us. They need to speak out to you. Because again, this is all Madison County. And I don't disagree that everybody is trying to do the best, what they think, what the best is from their heart. Don't get me wrong there. I understand that. And it's not an easy decision-making process. But it just seems year after year after year, we're doing the same thing, expecting a different result. And we know that's the definition of insanity. So we got to figure this out. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Anybody else online there, Federico? No? Very well, then public comment is closed. We do not have a closed session. Anything further from the board, from staff? Very well, I will entertain them. Oh,
I just
sorry.
have one question, Mr. Dickey. I do think that it's April 16th from 8:30 till 1 o'clock. That the school board was talking about going into the classrooms and visiting some of the classrooms. And we, as the Board of Supervisors, which ones, you know, especially Jim and I, who are appointed to that, we can come too, is that right?
I would hope so.
Okay.
I think you're welcome anytime as long as you run it by Anna. So please, I encourage.
Well, I know that
everyone-
that's a date that was set, so I'm just
Yes.
wondering if we can jump on board.
I would say that would be a good thing.
All right, thank you.
All right, very well, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Get a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, opposed nay. We are adjourned.
Thank you.